Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Monday and we've had quite a busy weekend around here, and Socks was helping out. Here he is all weekend. Yesterday was the Jumble Trail in Levenshulme, which is something that used to go on before COVID, where every street in the whole of our part of town has at least one or two stalls, stalls, outside people's houses, and people get out loads of things to sell, and people wander around the streets with a map. And I spent the whole day outside hours with Socks, supervising the whole time, because I was sitting where he usually sits to watch everyone, and I had a table out with a batch of my prints of paintings of Levenshulme and some framed pictures. Loads of people stopped by. And the best thing was that seeing completely new people to the area who were really pleased to be living here, and um, are just full of the excitement of the place, really. And everybody I saw knew my pictures from online stuff, which was amazing. That was fantastic, actually. It felt really nice that people were liking what I did. And I sold a whole load of pictures, framed and unframed. So that was a busy day sitting outside. We'd had the Saturday going up and down the length of Levenshulme High Street, stopping in places and going for lunch in sips and dips, and seeing everybody to do with it was to do with dropping off posters for Jeremy's campaign, his election campaign in the local elections. He's standing as an independent, so we had to stop and give posters to all these places. But we saw loads of people we knew, and we went to Bobcat Books, our local indie bookstore at the end of Levenshulme High Street, and I picked up what did I pick up? This Ex Libris, which I'd noticed before. It's by Michiko Kakutani, and it's 100 books that she loves. And I don't know where I read about this, but I love the look of it. They're just little personal essays, illustrated with these really lovely kind of Art Nouveau pieces. Each book gets its own illustration. It's a lovely kind of gifty book, and I gifted it to myself. Bobcap is nice. It's kind of culty books, pop culture books, loads of art prints. They've been selling my pictures and greetings cards for a while, and now they're doing new books as well. So they've got a stocking of kind of a lovely mix of things and a good science fiction section. So what else did we do on Saturday? Oh, we only have one charity shop in Levy, and I found a copy of this, which I'd meant to buy last year when it was first out, a lovely hardback of the Alan Rickman Diaries, which I'd read excerpts from in something or other, some newspaper, and he just seems such an interesting and nice and thoughtful person. And I love the look of his journals, which they replicate some of the illustrated pages that he did. Just kind of talent going off in all directions. So it seems like another another exception to my rule about shitty books by celebrities and actors. Most of them are to be avoided, obviously, because publishing has come to depend on the brand recognition of spurious idiots from the telly. But there are some that are worth reading, and I would say Richard E. Grant, Sheila Hancock, and Alan Rickman and Paul O'Grady, for example, are people that it's worth reading. Mostly celebrities can, as Panda would say, suck my fat, furry arse. I did a cartoon at some point about Panda responding to celebrity books. What else? Oh, I got a gift. When I was sat out there, David and Mark came by, and they'd found me a copy of this, which came out in America this year actually, and not here. And it's a little golden book, but it's a kind of pastiche of all the old-fashioned little golden books. and it's about the Golden Girls, and it tells the whole story of the episode in which they recount how they met. It's from a little way into season one. I'm looking for another little golden book to compare it with. I've got the really lovely, it's not there, Christmassy Disney one from years ago. But this kind of, oh, bugger, paper cut. um, this kind of airbrushing style, kind of, is it Mary Bear? I've got the name wrong, I'm sure, who worked for Disney, who did lots of this kind of artwork. Um, they've got that style just right. And the best bit is the Easter eggs. This scene where Blanche and Rose first meet in the supermarket, I think, and it's the whole conversation about the adopted cat. And in the background, in the book, there's lots of Easter eggs for people who know the Golden Girls incredibly well, as I do, because I watched the whole lot, all 7 seasons, every 2 years or so. But there's posters in the background for things like Meet Mr. Terrific and Missing Fernando the Bear with one ear. And people who know the Golden Girls well will remember what those particular things meant. The Fernando Bear with the missing ear episode is one of my favourites. Yep, so that was a great gift. I love the Golden Girls more than just about anything, even more than Doctor Who, I think. And it reminds me really happily, and I've said this before, of the early 90s and going out every Friday night to the one gay bar in Lancaster with my friend Bill, who is a one-handed fencer. No, a no-handed fencer. Um, uh, he used to teach fencing, and I think he still does. And the Golden Girls was always on just before we went out, and that was how our Friday nights would begin. But I've watched it again and again, and I wish there were Golden Girl tie-in books. I wish there'd been a late 1990s reunion TV movie in which we saw where they'd all ended up in their later years, where we would see them on location, as we did with loads of those kinds of TV shows. The Golden Girls never got that kind of reunion. And I wish there was a series of books like the Donald Bain books about Murder, She Wrote, where Jessica Fletcher is just getting older and older, and now she's 100 and something and still solving crimes. I don't see why. Something like Barclay Crime didn't have a series about the Golden Girls solving crimes in their dotage. Or, I don't know, time traveling or going to space or something like Fonz and the Happy Days gang did. Maybe I'm just being ridiculous. I'm too fond of sequels and follow-ups. And my favourite characters having ridiculous adventures. Maybe I'm just too fond of that kind of stuff. Still makes me wonder, though. There was a series of Barclay Prime Crime cozy mysteries about Florida old age pensioners solving mysteries, and it was meant to feel a bit like the Golden Girls. And I forget who wrote that. I read some of them about a detective, an amateur sleuth called Gladdy Gold. And I must look those up to see who they were by, because they were quite good. Still wasn't exactly the Golden Girls, because it was a retirement home complex. It wasn't the same setup. Anyway, I'll stop going on about the Golden Girls, but it is my favourite thing. What I'm reading at the moment is one of my books from the works. If you remember, I was talking about going into the works and getting 3 books for £6, and how much I'd loved One by One by Frida McFadden. I've still not had a chance to go into the works and buy an armload more of these thrillers, but I am reading Taj McCoy. It's her novel, Zora Books A Happy Ever After, about a woman who has an independent bookstore and is starting an affair with a famous mystery writer, and there's a mystery about him. And I think we kind of guess it from the blurb, what the mystery is going to be and how this is going to work out. It's nothing if not predictable seeming. And it's one of those contemporary romance things where there's kind of silhouette-y cut-out figures on the front, which are everywhere. It's the it's meant to make us feel a bit like it's what's her name, Emily Thingy, who I read last year for the first time because everybody was talking about her. The Book Lovers, Emily what's it? Anyway, everything has to look like her. And in this country, the closest look is Sally Rooney's books, I suppose, where they're quite minimalist. I couldn't bear Sally Rooney, I have to tell you. I read one of them and I thought it was like the dullest people you were at college with, um, and being forced to spend a terrible amount of time with them. It's like the old cliche about the friends that you meet in the first week of college, you spend the rest of your life trying to shake them off. That's a terrible thing. Um, Terrible quote. I don't know who said it, but the Sally Rooney book was a bit like that. I thought, what a dreadful bunch of people. So dull. And their conversations, it was like, oh, straight people going on about how hard life is. Um, anyway, this whole genre is jollier. The American contemporary romances I've read, and they're usually quite bookish and quite aspirational, to use that dreadful word, um, are really enjoyable. And she certainly is. There's a bit much maybe about outfits and stuff like that, the details of what people wear. She uses the terrible word clad, that so and so, that the heroine is clad in something. I think that's such a stinky word. It's just such an old fashioned, cloying, dreadful, fake literary word. And I do remember reading Alan Hollinghurst's The Folding Star, a really lovely, literary, arty, sexy, smutty book. And there's a bit, though, that made my toes cringe, where the fella goes out in his soft dove grey, which is always like, this is a bit posh, leather jerkin, he said, and he goes out into the gay scene of Belgium or somewhere, Brussels, and he says he's clad in his leather jacket, and it just makes me cringe. I don't know why. It just sounds so smug and smarmy, I suppose. Clad. I suppose you're clad in armor, aren't you? Um, so there's something self-contained in the idea of being clad. Cladding is what they put around pipes to keep them well insulated, isn't it? So we're thinking about something that's well insulated, armored against the night somehow. Um, but clad just sounds awful. It makes me think of the word clag, which isn't a good association either. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, that's what I've been, what I've been, the books I've been picking up and the books I've been reading. I'm still on with this small pile here. Whoops, the Leonora Carrington's still going on, and Jerry Potter's still ongoing. And but as I said, I'm taking that bit by bit because it's so rich, so kind of densely woven. And How to Train Your Dragon, which I'd never read, Cressida Cowell. And I love it because of the scratchy, smudgy pencil drawings inside. I think there's something very charming about that. There's not much story yet, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I do like the feel of those books, the Cressida Cowell books. And I want to move on, really. I want to get through all these things and move on to a whole bunch of nice hardbacks I've got waiting and have had waiting for a while. There's not been much time for reading because of all this stuff going on. A lot of painting after the after the Jumble Trail yesterday. We went to Beer, the coffee bar, the Irish coffee bar, where cafe bar rather, where they're showing my pictures, and it was their traditional Irish music afternoon. So there was a session in full spate when we arrived. So I got to take photos of the musicians and meet them and have some food. Sat outside with spicy chicken and chips on a really sunny afternoon, late afternoon on a Sunday, meeting these wonderful Irish musicians and talking about stuff. And then by the time evening came around, Jeremy was DJing an overdraft bar, and I was out and sat in the bar painting on my iPad and stylus. I was digitally painting and meeting other people, more people, because people come and talk to you, of course, when you're sat there doing stuff. And that was a nice evening. But I managed to get some art done as well with these paintings of the musicians going all psychedelic. It turned out very, very psychedelic. And I think I haven't done the quizzes about synesthesia, about people who perceive different colors uh, to do with sounds or different parts of their senses, or vice versa. It's not a very good explanation of synesthesia, but I think I hope you know what I mean. And I do wonder if painting the music in bright colors like that is some evidence of having uh, that particular gift, because it does seem to me to be a gift. The idea that you see numbers and tastes in terms of colors, or um, colors sounding like different things, sounds kind of really interesting to me. And I think I do have a bit of that. Anyway, that's how special I am. Just think I like lots of color in pictures. Right, I think that's it for today. I'm going to stop rambling in an effort to bring these videos down in length a bit. I'm under 20 minutes today, which is amazing. I think I'm going to try to write this afternoon and try and do some plotting. I wish I could reveal my new book cover to you. I can't yet. They haven't put it online, but the new Doctor Who book cover for Puffin is finished, and I saw it last week. And it'll be around sooner or later. My Doctor Who in Wonderland novel, which is out in July. No other news, I don't think, to tell you. There probably is if I think about it. I've just bought a new tea service from Caroline down the street, who had it on sale on her particular stall at the end of the street. It was so nice, all the neighbours being out on the road and different people having stalls and nipping down and seeing each other and friends coming around. And it reminds me yet again of standing in the street during lockdown and how we waved to each other from afar, and on things like New Year's Eve toasted each other in champagne from afar. And I'll never take for granted people getting together inside or outside their houses ever again, I don't think, after that whole experience. Anyway, I did feel being in the middle of our street, in the middle of all these people, in the centre of the world here, with everybody kind of doing stuff and being busy, very Levenshulme Sunday. Anyway, Socks is fast asleep. My headache is easing off slightly, and I'm ready, I think, to think about novels and stuff. I'd much rather sit down and make another video reading you something from Sinister Stories, perhaps, or Oscar Wilde. I can see Oscar Wilde's Complete Fairy Stories over there in hardback, and it would be nice just to sit and read. But I'll not. I'll sign off and see you again soon in the next episode of this.